This is Christian Gomez from the New American Magazine, and here on the program we have with us again Carlos Casanova, coming to us from Santiago, Chile. Carlos, welcome back on the program. It's been a while. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Thank you for the invitation once more.
So,
Yeah.
Carlos, we haven't had you on the program since probably November. So, can you tell us what's been going on lately in Chile? Last time that we had you, the major news story was that the president and the Congress of Chile, President Sebastián, is it Sebastián
Piñera.
Piñera,
Piñera.
and then the Congress of the country agreed to the Constituent Assembly, or at least a vote for a constituent assembly sometime in the spring. So what has been the latest developments in Chile, and how have the protests been going on with the Marxists and the Communist Party of Chile and so forth?
At that time, in November, I still had the hope that when the constitution was reformed in order to allow for the constituent convention, they call it convention, maybe there would be some guarantees that the convention couldn't do like a revolution, a real revolution. But those hopes were crushed. crushed. The reform of the constitution took place, and no guarantees were established really in the text of the constitution. Only one thing is, which is that the assembly or the convention will be subject to the constitution until the new constitution is voted. That's the only guarantee that was established. So if in April the votation favors the constituent convention, and then in November when it's elected, it will have like three hands to remake entirely the Chilean state, but it will be subject to the constitution until the new text is voted. That's the only good thing I would say that was approved.
So the only good thing that was approved is a guarantee that the current constitution would at least stay in place until the new one would come into being sometime in November, you said?
So in November, there will be votation to elect the members of the convention, the constituent convention.
Okay, so then, when would the convention actually occur? Would it be in November itself,
December.
or would it be December of this year?
Yeah. Yes. And then they will have free hand to establish whatever constitution they want. But in the meantime, they will be subject to the current constitution. That's a good thing.
So does that mean that as they craft the current constitution, that the convention would be subject and bound to the current constitution, or does this convention see itself as beyond the constitutional scope?
That's a good question. So according to the reform of the constitution, the convention will be subject to the current constitution until the new one is approved. But already 2 days ago, a representative of the Communist Party was denounced by other representatives, and then the Constitutional Court say that he can be tried. Yeah, he may be tried. And now the procedure starts. He might be sanctioned by the Constitutional Court. In that case, he will be expelled from the current Congress. Okay,
so this is a member of the Communist Party of Chile that currently serves in your country's legislative body in the Congress.
Exactly. And then the Constitutional Court is saying we might expel him from the Congress. And then he said that he won't obey the Constitutional Court because the Constitutional Court is applying a constitution that is dying, to which he's not subject. So
it sounds like the recipe for anarchy. So since this constitution is going to go out the door probably later at the end of this year, if they decide to not abide by it, then you currently live in a state with no constitution of any kind, and lawlessness will triumph. unless it's checked. And it looks like the communists are hedging their bets on lawlessness to triumph until they get their constitution enacted. Are there any concerns that at the convention that would occur sometime in December, that they could come up with a new constitution that would be implemented almost immediately? Or have there been any guarantees as to how the new constitution would be ratified? Would it go through the local governments of your country? Like, would it go to the different provinces or states of the country for approval? What does the process look like for ratifying a new constitution? And also, go on.
Yeah, no, it will be voted by the people directly.
So a national referendum to approve it.
Yes.
And then once
which is very dangerous.
And if the vote comes out in the affirmative, how quickly would that new constitution, do you think, then be in place? Would it be within a matter of a week, days, or months?
The convention has to establish that, but it could be immediate. But the point is that really right now, the communists are acting as if there is no constitution, as you were saying, despite the reform says something else. And despite the referendum hasn't taken place. It's crazy.
Now that the communists have virtually claimed victory with the announcement from President Piñera and the Congress that there will be this vote for this convention, and they know that the convention is scheduled to occur later this year, now that the communists have that victory, have they been a little bit more brazen or emboldened to freely discuss what are the changes that they want to push for at the convention? I'm sure now. So what kind of reforms are you expecting?
They have said clearly that they are going to eliminate the rights to water. In Chile, there is a complicated system of rights over water, which is the basis of the agricultural system of Chile. If they abolish that, the agriculture of Chile will torn to pieces, will be destroyed entirely. And I'm sure that's what they want.
Is water, is that, you're discussing like water in terms of like works, public works, water that comes from faucets and so forth, as opposed to like privately sold bottled water?
It's not that. The main point is this. The water in Chile comes from the Andes and through rivers, right? And that water is canalized. There are channels, canals that distribute the water for agriculture. That water they want to take.
So in the country of Chile, currently the water system is, the management of water is privatized. So are you saying that the communists are looking to have the government nationalize or have the government step in and take over the management of the waterways and water management of the country? Is that what the communists are intending to do with the constitution in Chile?
Yes, they want not only the management, they want the property over the water. And I'm sure that they want that in order to destroy agriculture, because that's what they do everywhere where they take power. They did that in Venezuela, they did that in Ukraine. And they also want, they have said it, to relativize private property, which is very
What does that mean, to relativize private property?
I don't know, because in the 19th century it made sense in France, because you couldn't have eminent domain or whatever. But now in Chile there is eminent domain, so nobody knows what that means.
So in other words, in Chile, currently there isn't a guaranteed right to property, because the government can, if they want to, they can seize property, they can seize land to build something. But you're saying that the communists want to make it easier now for the government to take land, further eroding private property rights, which private property is the bedrock and foundation for liberty and freedom. So if the communists go after private property, what does that mean for the future of Chile?
Yeah, we are approaching a communist constitution, I think. And as you were saying, we are now in a lawless situation. Like the communists do whatever they want because the carabineros, the national police, have been completely deprived of authority. It has been so bad that even their institutional church was burned, and they couldn't defend it. They couldn't use their weapons. They were trying to defend it, but they couldn't use any weapon. They couldn't use anti-mutiny weapons. They couldn't use their like legal weapons. Nothing.
Do you think
So
the
they had to
communists?
watch how their
Do
was
you think?
burned down.
Do you think that the communists will try to outright abolish the cabineros, the national police force of the country, or have it
Yes.
or have it reformed severely under this constitutional convention that's going to be held?
Yes, that they want to do that. Already, this government has suppressed the special forces of the carabineros, and this government has prevented them from using their weapons according to the protocols. They cannot follow the protocols. They are completely defenseless.
Yeah, so President Piñera, who supposedly is supposed to be a conservative right-wing president, has virtually caved into all of the demands of the communists, especially the convention, and he's tied the hands, or handcuffed, so to speak, the carabineros, the national police force, from being able to effectively do their job, quell down these protests that were occurring. In a way, in many ways, President Piñera has helped the protesters achieve their victories. My final question for you, though, is what warning or message do you have for the American people, especially here in the U.S., as there are some who think it would be a good idea to have a modern-day constitutional convention in our country, in the U.S.? What warning do you have to those who would say, let's change the American Constitution? Should what's going on in Chile be a warning to us as to why perhaps changing a constitution is not a good idea in this current day and age?
Yes, it should be, because for many reasons. One, and the most obvious, is that you don't know what will happen once you enter into a constituent process. Anything can happen in a constituent process. That's one reason. Another reason is you have a very radical candidate. Several radical pre-candidates in the Democratic Party. They could take advantage of the instability caused by a constituent movement to really subvert the country entirely. And also you have very radical movements in colleges in the US and universities. And that's the nest for all these movements in Chile. What has happened in Chile has been mostly a subversion of the mind of the university students. That's what has been the engine of this revolution. And I see that in the US you have that engine, which could cause also a lot of trouble.
As the colleges go, so goes the country, then, in other words.
Could be, yeah. Not necessarily, but it's a big risk for the country to have revolutionary colleges. Yes.
Okay, well, Carlos Casanova, a professor from the University of, St. Thomas?
Santo Tomas.
Santo
Yes.
Tomas in Santiago, Chile. Thank you for joining us again on the program, and we hope to have you back on again soon as a guest to continue to update us about the process and new developments with the Constituent Assembly, especially as the communists now to start to become louder and louder in their demands.